like I felt like I was going insane. But also trying to be a wife, I was working full time, I was going to school, and having all of that pressure. And I think everything just burst at the seams. And therapy was phenomenal. And she really made me progress. And there's things.
Welcome to Lovely Esteem. I'm Lovely, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You gotta have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're gonna sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it. So today I have invited Tara, one of my old friends. And when I say old, I mean 97, 98. Are we going to tell our age? 99-ish.
It's just, yeah, it's just.
Ish. And I actually met her through my husband. They went to college together. And then my husband didn't go to college anymore. And we've just known each other throughout the years, between 3 babies each, and marriage and careers. And I actually wanted to have you on this podcast because I feel like you're one of the extraordinary people that I've watched grow throughout the years. I've watched you, go from having your bachelor's degree to your master's to your certifications to starting jobs and becoming the boss and like all these different things. And on top of that, having 3 bomb daughters who like swim and do all kinds of craziness. And then, I was like, wow, okay, that's a lot of life inside of that woman's body. But also to watch you go through your ups and your downs and your disappointments and your sadness, but not try to hide those so much as I've watched you kind of reach out to your friends and still be there and root them on, even through your sadness. So that was a big reason why I wanted you to come on and, talk with me a little bit. Bye. Introduce yourself to the world.
Absolutely. Well, first, let me thank you for inviting me to this. I'm so excited to come join this. I love all of your posts, and following you on social media has been phenomenal. You make my day with your crazy posts, and absolutely adore you. So I feel honored that you selected me for this. But thank you so much. As Lisa mentioned, my name is Tara, and I'm the proud mom of 3 beautiful girls. I have one that's going off to college this weekend, a junior in high school, and a middle schooler. So needless to say, we have a lot of estrogen going on in this household. I do work in IT. I've been in that field for over 22, 23 years. And as you mentioned, I have degrees in computer engineering technology and software and internet applications, and recently attained my master's degree in IT project management. So yay, pat on the back.
I
But
know, right?
I think, and going through that, I realized that I was talking to my kids the other day, like, how the heck did I do that? Like, I was working full time, I was working in the computer lab. I was also working at Victoria's Secret in college. And I'm like, how the heck did I manage all that? And I think that's just been the foundation of my life. Like, people from the outside are like, how are you doing all of this? But it's just something that's just me in a nutshell. I
That's
figure it out.
It's been beautiful because I think that, I'm always looking for people who have lived their life to the fullest. And that doesn't always mean that, you have like, a mansion or, like none of us are running around puffy in our lives. You know what I mean? But
Right.
for who we are and where we are and the friends that we have, we've accomplished so much. And it's like you can, when you're cheering on a friend, they're like, well, if Tara can do it, I can do it. Like, okay, so tell me what your secret was. And you're like, I just did it. Like, if I thought about it too hard, I would have given up. Like,
Right.
you just need to know. I was just like, homework, okay, homework, class, new class, go to work,
Right.
so I was like, you're the braveness that it took, and one, because you're in a male dominated field
Right.
and you're kicking ass. And I'm like, girl, yes, every time. Every time you post something, I'm like a proud sister. Yes, girl.
That's so funny. That's so good. And I think the other thing that I think the thing for me is thinking back on like just how far I've come, I'm very goal driven. I was on welfare when I was little. Grew up very poor. And that was something that I did not want for myself when I grew up and, had a family. So I really pushed myself. I'm a first generation college graduate. I wanted to be the first one to graduate high school. So I think all of these tickers and my ultimate goal is I wanted to be a computer engineer. So it's like when I started the help desk and made my way up, it finally became a network engineer. And then obviously took the route to management. It's just, I am damn proud of myself on the journey that I've come along on. And it's, to your point earlier, it's having that circle of friends and that quality group of friends. I think just having your tribe with you and really pushing you, I think that's what made the most success for myself. So I have to give credit where credit is due. I think I would not have been able to get where I am today without my squad.
I know. I'm like, and I always say, I'm like, in the people who look the strongest usually have like the strongest squad, but people don't see them all the time because when you're a strong person, you tend to kind of float by yourself a little because you need a lot of thinking space and you don't want to. For me, I don't like to bombard people with my thoughts because I really need to like think it out. And then I have to categorize it. And then I have to make logic of it. And then it has to like eliminate something. And then by the time I go to a friend, I'm like, so what do you think? And they're like, you've already decided, right? Like,
exactly.
Like, but just take me out with drinks. Like, just start the drinks and we can pretend like I didn't already make a decision.
Awesome.
And that's kind of where I am. So I think that for the next session, I want to ask you a few questions because I try to send everybody, and I made sure that everybody had the same 12 questions. That's my theme. I love kind of getting into things because sometimes things spark your imagination or a question may lead off into somewhere else. Right. So answer them as you would like. Do not think that you're talking too long because one thing that you say could touch a person's life, and that's the whole purpose of this, healing through conversation. And my mental health has been like in the forefront for like the last 10 years. It's been a huge part of who I am in understanding myself and learning to take toxic people out my life and learning to embrace myself and not be afraid to just be me, because, sometimes when you're a free thinker, you look crazy, but, it's what it is. Right. I was like, look, you're going to get what you get and you like it. And it's going to come with a whole lot of body. And that's just the way it is. So we answered actually the first question, that please introduce yourself. So I just really love the person that I see when I look at you, and when you post or when you talk about yourself, you're so honest and very genuine. And it's not like a fake Tara. It's like, hey, this is what you get. Okay, we're going to celebrate this new dress. I beat this face. You're going to look at this picture, or look at my daughters, because for years you never even showed yourself. It was like swimming pool, swimming pool, swimming pool, swimming pool, swimming pool. I was like, for a woman, but somebody take the camera and mom at the swimming pool. Like, let her say something. So my question 2, what events occurred today that made you happy or proud?
So I think the first one is, as I thought about this one earlier, it was just putting some effort today and getting dressed. And just, I had some meetings that I had to get on video with. And I think for the past couple of weeks, I've just been like, I'm not going to join video. I'm looking like a troll today. Not feeling myself. But today I felt like I had to be on these important calls today. So I was like, let me go ahead and just get dressed. And I think what I'm seeing now is my confidence is coming out. So I really wanted to display that. But I think in leading into that, this dress that I'm wearing, I wore this at my graduation when I got my master's. I have not worn this dress since it did not fit. I could not get it on me. So today that was my big ass accomplishment because I feel great in this dress.
So and you have my favorite print too. That's my favorite print.
Oh, perfect. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
It is. It's my favorite print. I have enough animal print where somebody's gonna attack me one day because they're gonna think that I. So I love, and I love your journal into your like weight loss and how you've been able to like spin it. Because I think sometimes we as women, we're like, we just get so down on ourselves.
Right.
As I mean, and honestly, it's the truth. Like you feel bad, like you just do. And for people to be like, you just have to love yourself. You're like, well, I have to like what I see in order to love anything. Like I just have to. Because
Right.
when you walk past the mirror, I mean, I know there were years where I didn't look in the mirror. I just was like, this dress matches these shoes. Hope they not mismatch. Okay, let's do it.
Exactly.
And I just think that's a huge ass. That's a big ass.
Yeah. Yes.
Question 3. What have you done in the last 30 days to accomplish your dreams or goals?
So you kind of alluded to this. This was my my biggest answer to this is obviously the journey I've been taking for my weight loss, and just really being selfish about it. To your point, I've always had to. I've always put others in front of me. I've always tried to people please, and it was more of, I think this was an opportunity for myself to really make me the priority. And I think that's what I've been focused on. This. It hasn't been 30 days, but it's been longer. But May 1st, I hit my heaviest weight that I've ever been in my entire life. I did gain the 15 pounds from March to April, being in lockdown. So that was obviously some anxiety there. I was trying to work remotely. So I obviously turned to food. I realized quickly that I'm an emotional eater. So I noticed that I was getting depressed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was really getting depressed. So I turned to food. So I didn't weigh myself, stayed away from the scale, didn't touch it until my doctor called, and she never calls me, by the way. She was like, "You have a follow-up appointment." And I was like, "Oh no." And I'm terrified of my doctor, by the way. She's this little Vietnamese woman, and I am terrified.
Yes.
Truth. Doesn't sugarcoat anything. I was terrified. So anyway, so I weighed myself and I almost passed out to see how much I had gained, because that was the first time I weighed myself in months. So then she had did some lab work. I found out I was pre-diabetic. I was having all these issues, knee pain, joint pain, just the depression itself, and made a decision to start with keto May 1st. And 4 days in, I got into ketosis, and I have been in it since. And I am like almost there. I'm like tickling 50 pounds lost. And that alone has been my goal to get back to this healthy and happier version of myself. So I know that, like you said, I'm very open. I'm an open book. Anything you ask me, I will tell you. And I think that I shared some of that. But to your point, there was always pictures of others. There was nothing of me. But now you see all my selfies, and because I am confident,
Oh, yeah.
and I I feel great. And I think that's just been the biggest accomplishment for myself, just really putting myself first and being selfish about it. I think that's just been the biggest change for me.
And it's beautiful because I think I was having this conversation months ago, and I had read this quote, and it says sometimes self-preservation is perceived as selfishness. And I was like, it has stuck with me. Like, you would have thought that, like, Oprah told me this to my face, in my ear, and I was like, really? Is that it? And it's so simple, but I think we're, especially as women, are taught to people please. We're taught that if we're selfish, then we don't care about others, and we're made to feel guilty about wanting to like spend time for ourselves, or saying, or somebody cooks something and you're like, no, thank you, I don't want to eat that. And they look at you like, how ungrateful are you? I'm like, first off, you didn't see me try to swallow this salad down? Like, that wasn't the fun part of my day. Thank you.
Right. Absolutely. And I think it's come I think for the past 2 years it's been pretty rough. Well, and so I've had a rough 2 years just in personal things, and just having a myriad of issues. It's like as soon as I turned 40, things just went like things fell down, things were falling apart.
Crazy. Welcome. All the joy that you wanted, the wisdom that you never knew you needed, comes with a lot of bullshit. Like it just
Absolutely. It has been like, can I take one more thing? I can't. I can't take any more. I'm tapped out. So I think that's just been the journey so far. But it's been a rough 2 years, and I think this was the time for me to just pivot that and change my mindset as well. Just put me first, and I don't feel bad about that. I don't give a damn about saying
and
anything.
that's what I'm talking about. How has faith or lack of faith shaped your life?
When I saw this, I laughed because I have so many funny religion stories, church stories. But to sum it up, when I was little, I would go to I lived in South Baltimore, and there was like a church on almost every corner. And on Sunday morning, I would go to a Baptist church in the morning, Catholic and Lutheran, and then eventually Mormon as well. And talk about being confused. So I don't think we went there to really like to really embrace it. I think it was more of a way for my mom to get rid of her kids on Sunday morning. But I think it actually helped me to really develop my moral compass, I think, but not in association with any of those religions. I think I was most active in the Mormon church. I used to teach Sunday school. I used to teach the young women, so they were like ages, teenagers, so 12 and up. Loved that, and there's pieces of that I've taken with me. So I've never really considered myself to be a religious person, but I do feel like I am spiritual, and I can relate to the ideology that there is a higher power, which assisted me in grooming my moral compass throughout my life. So I think that there's pieces of all of those that I've had throughout my life, and just being involved. And I think most recently I was confirmed, and I was baptized when I was little, Catholic, and then I was confirmed. Went through religious ed classes when I was working in DC. So again, it's one of those things. What can Tara add to her list again? So added in something, left DC and drove all the way to Columbia to attend like a 6-week or 12-week religious ed class just to get confirmed Catholic. So while I'm not active, I don't say I'm active, but I think what I've instilled in my children is that I want them to be that free agent where they can choose their own religion and what their beliefs are, and not really me forcing it. I felt like there was families that I was around that you had to go here at 2, you had to be here at 12, you had to go to this place, and it was structured, which I thought was nice, but I didn't want that for my kids. I wanted them to choose their own path for that. So that's that.
And that's exactly the way I am with my kids. I'm like, I grew up Baptist, went to Catholic school. So, Sundays were interesting because on Wednesdays for communion was very different than on Sundays when I went to the Baptist, where they were screaming, hollering, and rolling their eyes. And then I would go to Catholic and it would be like, I'm like, I don't even know what you want me to do anymore. I'm just so confused, And I was saying to my mom, I was like, I read the Bible as an abstract book. Like I read the whole thing from the front to back. Don't do that and Ride the Train. Because when you laugh with the Bible in your hand,
oh, that's not good.
Like if people could have thrown holy water on me, they would have. But it's because if when you read it just to understand it versus to study it, it
Right.
is just stories of things that you in your head, you're like, what did I just read? A highlighter, mark it off, call mom. Hey mom, so I'm in the book of John, and so it's off. It's not okay. My mother would be like, read it to me and I'll explain it to you. And she would stop. I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just,
Right.
and I followed that. I found that I'm way more spiritual
Right.
than I am religious in any way. There's something higher than me and I pray to it all the time. But I don't feel the need to press it on anyone else. I think that you find your own spirit as you move along, and sometimes you may ask for advice, but you don't need to be beaten with it in order to understand it sometimes.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, I don't understand what's happening in Genesis, but we're gonna keep reading. Question 5: have you ever struggled with mental health issues?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I think the pandemic took a toll, and the past 2 years have been rough personally for some things going on. And then, like I said, the myriad of the health issues have come on from that. But I think my family has dealt with mental illness in many facets. So I've had a few family members that have committed suicide. So I had to deal with that when I was young. And just, addiction in general with alcohol and drugs. And I grew up around that. Not saying that my family, my mom or my father or my stepfather were involved in any of that, but we had family uncles and aunts and had really bad addictions and mental health issues, and even close family members. And so growing up around that, I think it really gave me an insight to when you dial it back. So if you are going out socially, your limit, and that you don't want to go that path. And I don't know if it was a pride thing when you're in Baltimore that, I don't think that they thought to go to therapy or if that was even an option. I think everybody, when I was growing up, if you were hyper, you were immediately put on Ritalin, and, they didn't really diagnose kids. There was no therapy for those things. So my brothers were on Ritalin, and they became zombies. And it's like, so I've always struggled with that, but I think where I've had the most struggle with it is when I got pregnant. I was in college and got pregnant with my daughter. And when I had her, something snapped. And I don't know if it was like, hey, you're a mom, but I started seeing a therapist. I was just going through some crazy things. I had some childhood trauma things. There's some things that happened, and and I was trying to deal with it. And I think what I've done my entire life is just compartmentalize it. Like, I'll deal with that later. Let me put that in the drawer. I'll deal with it later. And I think when I had her, the drawer burst, and I lost it. And I was like, I was so overprotected. And so she diagnosed me with postpartum depression, but it wasn't like I was out to harm her. I was just overprotective. Like, I was terrified of an airplane falling from the sky. I was scared of somebody throwing something over a bridge. So that was my memory the entire time. So that like literally drove me insane. Like, it's what felt like I was going insane. But also trying to be a wife, I was working full time. I was going to school, and having all of that pressure. And I think everything just burst at the seams. And therapy was phenomenal. And she really made me progress. And there's things, like I said, things from my childhood that came about. There was things that I have just completely compartmentalized, and she helped me deal with all that. So it's like I'm an advocate for therapy. I think that people need that, and they should not be ashamed of having to feel like you need to reach out that lifeline, because I think it helps, and I know it definitely helped me, and I just wish that there was opportunities to help my family, because I know that we've struggled with that in the family itself, and I just wish that people would not be shy about going to therapy. It's not a bad thing to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that especially we have so much in common. Growing up in poverty and living in the neighborhoods that we lived in, where it was like an oxymoron, where it was like churches everywhere, but the other corners had bars. And then if it wasn't a bar in the corner, it was like a corner store where you could go to the store and buy cigarettes for your parents. Like, just like weird things as a kid. You look back and you're like, I wish my daughter would walk into like a store and pick up a cigarette. Like, you can't even picture it at this point in your life. But I don't think that we were even given the option to go to therapy, because the stigma was if you went to therapy, you were weak, or, therapy was for crazy people instead of like people who just the stronger you are, the more you need people to listen to you, decompress, so that way you can keep moving forward. We were all trying to survive. We weren't thriving at all. We were all just surviving until we could get to like out of the neighborhood, like, 3 blocks out, then 10 blocks out, and then eventually you just like ran for the hills, you never look back. So I agree with you 100%. Therapy has been amazing. Therapy was the first time when I went to therapy, and the guy said to me, he said, you have every right to be angry and you can express it. You would think that like, you should know that. But when he said it, it was like, really? Like, he was like, no. You have every right to be angry and you can express it. He said, don't do
Right.
it violently. I don't want to see you on the news. But he was like, but if you don't like something, you're allowed to say it. If something makes you feel bad, you're allowed to say it. And if somebody keeps making you feel bad, you're allowed to let them go. I'm like, did you tell everybody else? Well, does anybody else know this? You know, like
Right.
you feel like some new news that you want to just like get a billboard and be like, you can be angry too. You know? Like, I don't even know. I was like, I was amazed at the amount of like consciousness I found through therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's allowed me to really go from being a woman to a wise woman.
Right.
Because,
Absolutely.
because I think we can be mothers, we can work, we can be wives, but it's very hard to be you,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
you have 3 daughters, I have 2 daughters, and you're trying to raise them because really our subconscious is our parents' thought, voices. It's the people's voices that may have been the influence, good or bad. And then we try to fight those voices because you're like, go back in there. I
Right.
can't to my child, but you find yourself saying something, you're like, oh my God, I'm my mother. And like now you have to decide, is it the good voice or the bad voice? So, was it the good dad or the bad dad that you're speaking from?
Right.
I don't know. They're messed up a little bit, but I think they're doing pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're doing great. That's awesome.
Next question. Name 3 positive things about yourself.
So, one, I definitely would say that I'm goal driven, as I've shared. The other thing is that I am wholeheartedly empathetic. Like, and I don't know if that might be a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel everything. Like I am a raw nerve, and I feel it before I see it. If I have a gut intuition, I know something is wrong. I feel I have I read this energy, and I think I think I have a pretty good sense of humor. Was my last one? My kids may find it annoying, may find me annoying, but
Mom, get
I
out
think
the
I'm a good time.
I think if you can laugh by yourself with no one around, you're doing good.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
the voices in my head are laughing all the time. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
All right.
How are you now coping with the pandemic now that we're 5-6 months in?
Yeah, it's been challenging at times. So I waffle from feeling like, man, I really miss being social and going out, and then I realized I really don't go out as much. I think this is my life. Like, I think I'm more of a homebody than I was before. So really not much of a change on that side. But no, I think it has been it's been different. I think just not being able to really venture out as much. So typically we would always have like this big summer vacation we plan with a family we're close with. So like knowing that we couldn't do those things, I think that's been some disappointment and from that perspective. But I think just being able to have the opportunity to be able to work from home and still have a job. Obviously, I'm thankful for that. That's a blessing, and for that piece, and just being able to cut down commute time. There are days where I'm a people person, so I like being around people, but so I miss some of that socialization at work because I could just walk out my door and see my team. But I think that this has honestly brought us closer because I'm constantly in contact with them, and I have an org that's like almost 40 people that report up to me. So trying to give them each individual time has been a challenge. So, and I have to be very sensitive because I do have a team that's still on site. They're essential, so they have to be on site. So I try not to complain, oh, I gotta go downstairs and sign in, where they still have to report into the office. So I'm just very sensitive to that. But I think overall, being home has been a blessing, and just being able to, um, you know, be home. And I think it's just, and like I said, I think with my weight loss thing, I think it's obviously given me an opportunity to actually focus on that as well. And I probably wouldn't have had time to do that before. So I think just really trying to focus on those things. But I think the other part that's been a challenge is since I am home, I have set up my own office, as you can see. So I do have my own space, but there's sometimes it's very hard to disconnect. So there's times where I'll work until like 10 or 11 o'clock at night or later. I have pulled the 1 a.m., 2 a.m. nights because I'm like, oh, let me do this one more thing. Let me do this one more thing because I'm here. So that's been the part. That's a personal thing for me. That nobody's making me do that or setting any expectations. It's a Tara thing where I feel like I need to pull myself away from the office, so because I feel like I have to get caught up because it is busy. So,
I mean, look, my office setup is downstairs, and my crafts and interview side is upstairs. Like I have to walk away from the desk because you do find yourself like sitting, because it's like you're like, I'm just gonna pay a few bills while I'm sitting here. So like you might start paying your bills, and then it goes ding, and it's a work email, and now you're like, I'm gonna pay these bills, and I'm gonna get up, ding, okay, I'm gonna pay these bills, and then you're like, well, it's 5 emails. Let me just check these emails. Right. And then you wake up and you're like on the desk with the keyboard in your face. You're like, why didn't somebody come get me? And they're like, but mom, you're always in there. No.
Exactly.
My son now turns my work cell phone off at like 8 o'clock. He puts it on mute. And he's like, you can't hear it now. So it doesn't exist. Great. It's like we're having dinner, which I laugh. I'm like, he's 20. Like when now all of a sudden you want to sit down and have dinner together? He was like, we're talking as a family and your phone keeps ringing. Right?
That's awesome. Right. That's great. When I first started working from home, I used to be in the back. I'm in the basement, so I used to work in the back room. And there's no window. So there was days where I had no concept of what time it was. Unless I forced myself to. So I moved to the front. Now I have a little bit of a window, that little tiny basement window. So now at least know when the sun's coming up or down. So that's helped.
I'm gonna need you to get away from your desk, woman. I'm gonna need you to get away from your desk. Exactly. What is your favorite dish and why? Food dish. And I know that you're still dealing with it, but you still have something that you just like, that's my one treat.
Oh, so when I got this question, there's so many things that I miss because obviously I can't have a lot with this new lifestyle thing. But the thing that I absolutely love, which is my favorite dish, is just Nigerian stew that we make. And with plantains, I think that's the thing that I absolutely miss because I also learned how to make it, and it tastes great. And I think that I just miss that. It's just one of my favorite meals. It's just something that I've been with my husband for over 18 years, so it's it's just a dish that just reminds me of family and things that we've always had. And then being able to make it has been a treat, but I can't have it anymore. But so I miss it and miss fries. Fries, I could kill some fries right now. Like if I knew it would not set me back, I would tear up some fries. I love the Royal Farms fries with cheese.
Oh, you went the way.
Come on.
Don't think about it. Don't you have a goal? And maybe you can treat yourself to one thing. I mean, because hopefully the world will open back up and you'll get to fly into your family, and you're going to try to pull this whole like I'm not going to eat. I don't know how that's going to work in your in-laws land. I don't know how that is going to play out.
Exactly.
When the food is the food, I serve you, you going to eat this. You're like, right?
Absolutely. You can't turn it down.
You will not be in ketosis sitting around like, smells so good, but I can't eat it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. You just black out and just eat it.
Come back home and be like, okay, so I can't eat it all now. Like, not at all. Just water. Like I'm gonna go on that Beyonce diet. I just eat lettuce and I have 1 shrimp every day. That's what we do here. I would fight. I would absolutely fight people if you put me on a diet like that.
No, I wouldn't survive on that one.
I mean, I do like the keto diet because you still have lots of options.
Right.
I mean, yes, they're limited, but it's like you still have lots of options that give you like the flavor that you're looking for or give you the texture that you're looking for. So I think with diet, that's a big thing. Like you want the creaminess or you want something when you bite into it, it feels like you really had a meal, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
But
That's been the
that-
benefit. That's been great. That part's been awesome.
yeah.
But still miss
No,
those fries.
I'm so proud of you. Okay, all right. What have you learned about yourself during your time of solitude?
I thinking about this one, I think what I've learned about myself is I've always had an excuse when I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to do that. And if I had time, I would be able to do it. And I realized with the time that I've been given being home that it wasn't about time at all. Everybody has the same amount of hours to use. I don't get any extra. You don't get any extra. It's just how do you make the most of it? And I think it was more of a lack of discipline for me. So I think that's the part that I was missing. So being able to really stick to that, to stick to this weight loss journey and, not have any temptation for messing up. Like my kids, we have had 2 birthday parties already, or quarantine birthdays, you can call them. And no desire to eat the cake, no desire to lick my finger. I made them cinnamon rolls yesterday. I had icing on my finger. I just wiped it off. It was like I had old me would lick that. I would lick the container, and I think it became a discipline thing for me, and I think that's the biggest thing, that I have that power and that willpower that I've always felt like. In the past, I've done every single weight loss thing you've ever imagined, and it's been I lose 15 pounds. I'm okay, good, and I can bring food back, and I just get into this yo-yo effect. So I think being able to dedicate the time and really be serious about it, and that's just been my biggest thing. I think that's been my mindset change that I've really changed for myself. So I realized that I have the power to change. I had to just be the change that I wanted to see, and I think that I've done great so far. So I think just continuing on that path has been my motivation for that.
Wonderful, and I'm proud of you. Okay, so this is my favorite question out of everything, and it shouldn't be, but it is because I love to sing. What was the last song you sang out loud? I mean, like you, Mariah, carried yourself into a crazy space.
Well, I don't sing, and that's for everybody's benefit. But when I'm in the car, I usually have my iPad playing when I'm working. I have to work with music. I can't work in the quiet, so I always have it on. So earlier today, I had my playlist is all over the place. I can be Celine Dion, Aerosmith, get to Lenny Kravitz, get to Motown. I'm all over the place. So today, the song that I was literally writing up some, preparing for a meeting, and JJ Fad Supersonic came on, and I felt like I was on stage. Knew every word, changed my voices when each rapper got up there. So
yes.
So yes, that was.
You can't hear that song and not do it. I mean, like in your head, you have the bangs. You're looking for your jacket. You need like a one piece. You rocking your sneakers, like the whole nine.
You go there, and it's like, I know you see these things on TikTok where like don't react. That song, I will react every damn time that song comes on, and I was fine. I was in a zone, and that song comes on, and I just break out my little '80s gear, and I'm like on it, like I'm JJ.
I love it, love it. Oh my, that's my phrase. Supersonic is my phrase when someone's talking too long. Like 20 minutes into the conversation, I'm like supersonic. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah. Like, just that's real far. Like, we're not even having a conversation anymore. You just started ranting, and I was just here to show up. and my brother, when we did the podcast, he would like get on the top of a soapbox. And you'd be like, supersonic. And like, I just gotta get it out. I'm like, supersonic. And I was like, I wish that I could have had that as a theme song, without them, trying to charge me
copyright, right?
Because I really can't afford that. I'm not set up like that yet, but I will one day.
Absolutely. I'll be manifest it. Yes, you will. When you do.
And I'll make more crazy videos for you to laugh at. That's my thing. Okay, so next question. If you could go back in time once and give yourself advice, what age would it be, and what would your advice be to you?
So I thought a lot about this one, and I went two different paths. But what I ultimately came to answer for this one is knowing what I know now, and still grieving the loss of my mom. I think I would go back and tell my teenage self to appreciate my mom more and really soak up that time that I had with her to make those memories. She was such a powerful human being in my world, and just understanding that void is so prominent in my world today. I feel like I took advantage of her when I was younger. Like I knew she was there. She was, she was my number one cheerleader support. But you hit those teenager years, and as I'm dealing with teenagers now, and it's like, oh, you're so annoying. No, I don't want to hug you, or no, I don't want to kiss you. No, you're not taking my picture. I did that, and it was like I feel now that I never really had the time to grieve because I am the oldest. And it was like, your mom passed. What are you doing? All eyes went on me, and we had to like plan the funeral. Thankfully, I had family that was able to help with that as well. But it was, you had to go into planning mode, and I felt like I never had the time to grieve. So I think that was the part where, because she was such a light to everybody that she met, and I only hope that I have an ounce of that, that I give to my friends and my family as well. But so I think that's probably the time frame that I would probably go back and say, like, you know what, be nicer to your mom. When she asks you for a hug, give your mom a hug, give her a kiss, and stop, doing I would do the head bop, like reach into her and bop her head. Like, it's just like, why can't you kiss your mother? And I'm like, she's like, one day I'm going to be gone. You'll miss it. I'm like, you'll always be here. And I feel like that was my moment where I feel like I took advantage of that.
Yeah. And I will tell you that you are the light. You big up everybody. Like a birthday before the pandemic, you be like, I'm surprised you ain't have a slideshow. You be like, and this is Joanne's birthday. Big up Joanne. Swap, 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 swap. Like, what's happening? We going out. Take a picture. Like, Joanne was like, oh shit, okay, happy birthday. Or even just like, whenever you went out with your girlfriends and you guys took pictures, or just your captions of the amount of fun that you have with your friends and how much you appreciate them. I think that we take for granted what we say because you're so used to loving them that when you say, girl, I love you so much, and they like, thank you, and you're like, yeah, and then you go on to your next day, and a lot of times your friends are kind of sitting back like, I'm so glad she's in my life. But when you're younger, when you say that, you feel, you're like, especially coming up the way we did, you didn't express it like that. It was kind of like a little hardcore. It was like DMX telling you that he loved you. Right. And as you get older, now you're just like, if Dolly Parton could tell you that she loved you, you'd be like, oh, that's so nice. You can embrace it.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm so glad. I really am glad that I am in my 40s. Yes, things are different. Very much so. And I do sometimes wish for my like 37-year-old body a little bit.
Right.
But I would not take that body over this mind now. I just absolutely would. No, because I remember some things and I'm like, Lord, do not send me back into that crazy space because that was bad. Like, that's my mental health even through my 30s. Oh, I just wanted somebody to just like push me on the floor and be like, get your shit together. And I was like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. So not fine. It was so not fine. And the final question is, what do you say to the people you love before you hang up the phone?
So I think I struggled with this one because I was like, what do I say? Because sometimes it's just like, okay, bye, hung up. But I think the ones, my close circle of friends, it's always, I tuned into this, and it's always love you, bye. And I think that's important to remember that. And I really value that, and I really felt like I just kind of overlooked it because I do love them. They're like my sisters that I've never had or always wanted. And we consistently always say that. So I think that's just been just the way that we hang. And I don't say I love you everybody. So if I say that,
you should,
then you're in.
Somebody gonna be like, she never said she loves me.
Exactly.
Get the hint.
But I am cognizant of it because you don't want to be on a meeting at work and be like, hey, love you, bye. So no. So I am trying.
My boss
Oh,
has done that. And then he was confused. He was like, all right, goodbye. I didn't mean, I'm like, hey, calm down. Goodbye.
exactly.
Click. I wasn't trying to step over. I didn't mean not a love. Like we went too far in. I was like,
I love it.
I was uncomfortable. You were uncomfortable. We're going to back about this conversation.
Let's move on. Right.
Not to do it anymore. Not anymore. So I know that, let me say this. I want you to know that I appreciate you. I appreciate how honest you are. And I know that we're not click girlfriend type, but it's like, it's always been a very mutual like hype via wherever we are. You know,
Right.
it's like,
absolutely.
It's like, she grabbed, yes, girl, get that master's. Like, it's like celebration, or like the girls getting older. I mean, sometimes when you post pictures of your girls, I'm like, no. That's too fast right now.
Absolutely.
Too fast. But I have to say that now, being the parent with all of, like, my youngest will be 18 in October. And now being a parent with all of them kind of like not moving on with their lives, but just kind of discovering themselves, I really do love the stage, because I think because of the work we're doing on ourselves, our children are so very different than the way we were. Like they're way more honest, sometimes to a fault. You're like, I didn't want to know that.
Right.
But thank you, or, there are times where they talk to you about their feelings. They can really express themselves in such a different way that I know that I never would have been able to do that when I was younger.
Absolutely.
At all. In my 20s, no,
right.
30s.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that I've been super impressed with my girls. And it's just they're like my little activists. And, they're biracial, and they have, they really took on to everything that's going on in the world, and just how articulate they are on really expressing their feelings. And, if you're wrong, they will tell you you're wrong. And just seeing how connected they are. Like, even with politics, we were watching the convention yesterday, and my middle child, she was like giving me like the breakdown, why they do this, how we have delegates, and I'm looking at her like, I don't even know that. Like, and I have this 16-year-old tell me how the government works, and I'm like, really? And my husband's like, oh my god. I'm like, hey, they know more. Okay. It's been great. It's been absolutely amazing. I just love how they've grown to such strong, independent women, and I'm just so proud of them, and just seeing them grow. And obviously, your children, I've seen them when they were little and just growing up. And every time I see pictures of them, I'm like, how are they that big? Like, time is just flying by. But I absolutely adore you guys. I have always, like you said, I don't get to see you often, but I love staying and connected with you on social media. Your posts make me die. I live for your posts. They're so funny, and I absolutely adore you guys. I'm absolutely blessed to have you guys in my world.
Oh, we appreciate it. Even my crazy husband, who don't know how to show love because he's still stuck in DMX land. He be trying to come out sometimes, but he, like, if we could get him anywhere closer to Lenny Kravitz, that would be amazing. Because at least you would kind of know where he was going with. But he's still like the guy that like open up the door and be like, Lisa, yes, I love you. And then he shut the door. I love you too. He's like,
that is awesome.
Why are you so aggressive? What are we doing? It's like, calm down.
I love it.
But I thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. And I will continue to follow you and see what you guys are doing. I can't wait until like all of this craziness is over, because I'm definitely gonna have a celebration. I'm definitely inviting all y'all. Like, we're gonna do something in the backyard. I live on like a huge acreage, so we can have some social distancing. But I'm like, I want to have like a great adult party, like an all white with tents, just supersonic our asses until we are so tired. We're limping back to the car because we've been taking our shoes off. That's my
awesome.
goal.
I
So I'm
love
like,
it.
20,
As long as
21,
I'm not
2021, something.
as long as I'm not serving your food, right?
Nobody's serving anything. Nobody's serving
That will
anything.
always be my favorite memory. I love that wedding day. That was my absolute favorite memory. I absolutely love it.
I'm like, look, I keep telling people, I'm like, look, until you get married and your whole wedding is like a love fest, because people just was like, all right, so what do you need me to do? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, just
Do
do whatever you want. I don't know. The people they just spike the punch, the kids are drunk.
That was awesome.
Oh,
God,
I'm
such a
like,
great.
but that's my point. Like, just being able to connect through such different times in our lives, but stay connected in a way that is still very pure and honest, and it's not like forced or overfed. And I feel like those are the relationships that I value the most. And those are the people that when something special is happening in my life, I reach out. And I wanted to reach out to you. So
Thank you so much. It's been great. I feel honored. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Now I'm gonna need you to leave that room.
Yes, I'm hanging up. I'm gonna say love you, bye, and get my ass out of here.
Okay. So I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, dear. Bye.
Bye.